Hello, welcome to the Kitchen Spy. My name is Kate. I hope this video finds you safe and well. And this is another recipe video, and it's a sweet one this time. This is for cherry and almond tray bake. Now, this is a gluten-free version of it, but you can easily make it non-gluten-free just by using ordinary flour. This is from a book called Mary Berry's Baking Bible, which along with the Delia Smith books are really good books to learn how to cook cakes from. So if you are interested in perhaps buying just a couple of cake books, then I would definitely recommend both Mary Berry and Delia Smith. Both quite old-fashioned cooks, I guess, but nonetheless just give great recipes, and I've never had any cake that I've done from any of their books go wrong, which is the important thing, of course. Okay, so we'll have a look at the ingredients that we've got here. So you can tell this is not going to be a low-calorie cake. So we'll start off by having a look at the almonds. So these, the recipe calls for flaked almonds for the top of the cake, but I hadn't got any, so I'm just going to use whole almonds just to pop on the top, and that will be fine. So ground almonds, we've got 75 grams or 3 ounces of ground almonds. Then we've got 2 teaspoons of baking powder and the zest of 2 lemons. Then we have sugar, which is caster sugar, and that is 225 grams or about 8 ounces. And then we've got soft butter, so 225 grams or 8 ounces. So if I'm baking, I just take it out of the fridge the night before so it's ready. Then we've got 5 large eggs, and then 275 grams or 10 ounces of self-raising flour. This is Dove's gluten-free self-raising flour, and even though that actually does have xanthan gum in, when I bake I just put 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum in with the flour, and that just helps the cake to hold its structure, because otherwise the cakes can be quite crumbly. And then cherries, these are 225 grams or 8 ounces of glacé cherries, which have been halved and then halved again and then washed thoroughly and dried. And here I have 1 tablespoon of plain flour to coat the cherries with. That helps them not to sink. That's not actually in Mary Berry's recipe. I've just gone a bit off piste there. Yes, so those are the ingredients we need. And then in terms of how to bake it, you really need a tray bake pan, and I couldn't find mine at this point, so I've just used a roasting tin here. Is 12 inches by 9 inches or 30 centimetres by 23 centimetres. Then in terms of doing the cake, it really couldn't be more simple. You literally put pretty much everything in at the same time. So I'm using a stand mixer here, but you could easily do this by hand or using a hand electric whisk as well. So I'm just going in with the flour, which has already got the xanthan gum in. Then I'm adding the sugar, and then I am adding the ground almonds, just making sure that we get all of those, because that's where a lot of the flavour comes from, and obviously because there's quite a lot of them, they also add to the structure. Then we've got the baking powder and also the zest of the lemon, and then we have the butter. And so we just pop that in. So like I say, that has to be soft because we're mixing this all together. So I don't like microwaving it to do it, although you could. Like I say, I just take it out the night before, and then it's lovely and soft to use for the cake. And then just pop the eggs in. And then from that, what we need to do is just beat it all together, and we use the K-beta attachment. I've just kind of thought, I don't know whether that is a Kenwood thing, because this is a Kenwood mixer, or whether all stand mixers have that shape anyway. And then we just need to make sure that it's just all mixed through, and I've just sped that up a bit because yeah, we're just watching a mixer mix cake batter. But this is just so really simple. You just really put everything in all together, and well, there's no jeopardy in it really, because normally with cake batters the jeopardy is in once you've got the cake in and then you're putting the eggs in one by one, it can sometimes curdle, but doing it like this seems to work really well. And then once that's finished and it's all combined, just make sure you get as much of that precious batter as you can off the attachment, and then we're good to go to the next stage. And the next stage really is just to add the cherries. So what I'm doing here is I've just got that tablespoon of plain gluten-free flour, again Dove's, and I'm just mixing it in with the cherries. It just helps them to kind of get suspended in the mixture. But you know what, it's not the end of the world. If the cherries fall to the bottom of the cake, we can pretend we were making an upside down cake or something. Anyway, once you've mixed those all through, you get the cake batter back, and then you just need to fold the cherries quite gently into the cake mixture. So I'm just using a spatula here, and I'm just using the kind of recognized folding method, so scooping around the edge of the bowl and then cutting through the mixture to make sure that the cherries are all really well incorporated into the mix. You want to make sure that they are all the way through, because obviously you don't want a tray bake where the cherries are all cuddled together in one end of the pan. So this is important that you make sure that everything is mixed together quite thoroughly. Then the next thing we need to do is to bring over the pre-prepared pan. And I should have said right at the beginning really that we needed to preheat the oven to 180 degrees C or 160 degrees C fan, or gas Mark IV. I always cook my cakes in my gas oven, so I've got a gas oven and I've also got an electric fan oven, but I feel, and I don't know whether it's fact or not, but I just feel that the cakes come out better of the gas oven than the fan oven, so that's what I use. So I'm going to be baking this at gas Mark IV. So once we've got the mixture into the tin, just make sure that you push the mixture right into all of the corners. If I were to be using a normal tray bake tin instead of this meat tin, it would have been a bit easier, to be fair. And this is quite a big cake. It serves 12 as a minimum, but you could easily get more slices of cake out of it just by making it 4 by 4, if you like, instead of 3 by 4 when you cut the cake at the end. So once you've got all of the batter into the cake tin and you have pressed it down flat, then we just need to pop the whole almonds, or scatter the sliced almonds or flaked almonds if you've got those, onto the top. Gluten-free baking sometimes scares people, and if I'm absolutely honest, when I first had to start cooking for a gluten-free diet, when my husband first found out that he'd was celiac, baker really kind of scared me too, but over the years I've just realized that actually there's not that much difference. The outcome will be slightly different in that it's more crumbly, but you can just use the same old recipes and just substitute gluten-free flour and a bit of magic xanthan gum. Okay, so there it is all ready, and that's going to go into the oven now for about 40 minutes. So after about 40 minutes we take it out of the oven, and as you can see here it looks baked, so I'm just going to go in with my skewer, and that's a bit inconclusive, so you can also touch the top of the cake as well, and if it springs back really easily, then that cake is cooked. Now this, to me at this point, felt like it needed just a couple more minutes, so I just popped it back in the oven and then got it out a few minutes later, and there we are, all baked. What we need to do now is just leave that in the tin to cool completely. So don't take it out of the tin, just leave it in the tin, and then once it's cool we chop it into squares or sections. And then I just thought I'd show you this cake plate, which is like an antique cake plate that I bought ages ago from an antiques fair. I think it wouldn't have been expensive, and it's got a chip on it, but I just love it, although you cover the birds up. And here we are after the cake has baked all the way through and has been sectioned off into, in this instance, 12 pieces. So just piled it all up on that cake plate. And as you can see, that actually looks really moist and delicious, and it is a really lovely recipe, this. It just it makes quite big slices, and in fact the calories for one of those slices is 444, which I know is a lot, but for an occasional treat, and if you're not watching your calories, then it's a really good cake to make, because it's so simple. There's very little jeopardy with it, and it is really quick to do as well. So there you are, another recipe. If you like the recipe, please give it a thumbs up, because that makes a big difference. Thank you. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for that. Your support is really appreciated. And if you're not a subscriber and you think you might like to watch my videos, which are generally food hauls, recipes and meals of the week, then perhaps click the subscribe button and the notification button, and that way you'll hear when I put up another video, which is usually on Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.